हेलो। मेरा नाम महमूद तारिक है और मैं आवाज़ एंटरटेनमेंट के शो अवेयरनेस का होस्ट हूँ। आज जैसा कि आप जानते हैं, इस प्रोग्राम का मकसद आप तक ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा मुफीद इंफॉर्मेशन पहुँचाना है ताकि इसको आप अपनी प्रोफेशनल और ज़ाती ज़िंदगी में इस्तेमाल करके इसको बेहतर तरीके से आगे बढ़ा सकें। तो चलें शुरू करते हैं। हमारे आज के जो मेहमान हैं उनका ताल्लुक़ रियल एस्टेट इंडस्ट्री से है। वो किसी तारुफ के मोहताज नहीं, लेकिन फिर भी मैं आपको थोड़ा सा तारुफ करा देता हूँ। आपका नाम है सैम मैकडाडी। सैम मैकडाडी रियल एस्टेट इंडस्ट्री की जानी पहचानी शख्सियत हैं। उनसे हम जो मौजूदा रियल एस्टेट की जो मार्केट है, जिससे काफ़ी लोग परेशान हैं और कुछ लोग तो बहुत ही परेशान हैं, उनसे पूछेंगे कि वो इसका क्या हाल बताते हैं, वो क्या देखते हैं, उसका मुस्तकबिल क्या है। तो मज़ीद टाइम ज़ाया किए बगैर मैं आपको डायरेक्ट उनसे मिलवाता हूँ। सैम, welcome to the program. I really appreciate your time, especially whether it's not very friendly. We got all kind of alerts, and you took time talking to us and to our viewers, and we are really thankful for that. So, without further ado, I think we should get back to the topic itself. And the topic today is, please give us your kind of overview of today's market. It's very volatile. A lot of people are in trouble. A lot of people have invested. A lot of people have made money. But there is a huge chunk of people, or a lot of folks who invested in the market, and now they're on the verge of losing their lifetime earning. And we do not know where the market is going, and we want to hear from somebody who knows the game, who knows the market, who knows ups and downs, and has seen many cycles. So we would like to know if it is a short cycle, long-term cycle. What is this situation? What is this condition? So,
give you a simple mathematical equation discussion. $1 million mortgage would on average cost $4,000 at 1.5%. So if you had a variable rate mortgage, you're paying $4,000. Today you're paying $6,000, so you're paying 50% more in 6 to 8 months. People didn't have a chance to get ready for this. I mean, this was a big, harsh, reality check for everybody, and I think we're all feeling the pinch today.
So my question is, was that kind of avoidable, or was it inevitable? Government had no choice to take that very the last resort or last measure they have taken, because the way we see the reports, the GDP has not increased as dramatically as they would have expected. Inflation hasn't really gone down as they would have expected. So what have they achieved with all that, other than destroying so much of the industry which was really going well, per se? I mean, in the real estate and related 65 industries were doing really well. So all I see, everybody across the board is affected. What have they achieved in your opinion?
They've achieved nothing but havoc today. I don't think there was any of their goals or objectives, in my opinion, failed in terms of the objectives. But I think what they've done, exactly to your point, they've just created a lot of, misery for a lot of families who already were struggling. Already life was difficult enough as it was. I mean, we already know that gas prices have gone up, food prices have gone up, and now, housing, which is dear to everybody, they're having difficulty holding on today. And I think a lot of people, you'll see 2023 will not be a pretty year for most people, because they're going to have to deal with the financial aftermath of this 4.25% interest rate increase in such a short duration. And there's still talks of maybe another rate increase in January, which to me, I don't really fathom that discussion as well.
So, it's not a pretty picture. I mean, I can see that. The people feel 2023 is going to be as hard as 2022. And they are hoping for better, maybe the last quarter of 2023. And if it would be a better year, 2024, what would make it better? Because I don't see anything positive being done by the government that would change 2024. Because what I hear here, Bank of Canada is not going to reduce the interest rate anytime soon. that means the whole game or the whole uh, people were banking on the low interest rate. And if the low interest rate is not going to happen, what's going to happen to the market, in your opinion, then?
No, I think we're in for a difficult period. I don't think people may realize how bad it's going to be. The maybe partial saving grace, which isn't really a saving grace, but for maybe house pricing integrity, is you're going to see maybe 500,000 new immigrants come to Canada, of which maybe 2/3 land in the GTA. But the people living day in, day out, I think they're going to have some struggles. And, most of the people I talk to in the trenches, because we're in the field, I mean, they're all feeling it today. And it's not going to be a really happy holiday season. I guess people are going to get through it. They're going to buy presents and rack up more debt and then have to feel and deal with a pinch in the new year, right? But I think the government, if they had aspirations of raising interest rates, which I said earlier, I don't disagree at some point, maybe you had to start nudging the needle a little bit because, the lowest we've seen over 40-year duration, the 25 or 5-year fixed position lowest I've seen ever, which was the lowest in the last 40 years, was 1.59%, which we know is low. So we understand that was never going to be a forever phenomenon. But, maybe, and what I talked about previously is maybe raise it 1% a year, have people adjust to the new realities. If you have a variable rate mortgage, you can lock in with a 1% higher rate, which is manageable. And you would have probably, in your mind, rationalized and said, well, over the last few years, I've saved money by having a lower rate. Okay, today I've locked in a slightly higher rate, but it's a reasonable offset. Where today, that's not the case. I mean, people can't afford, they're not going to lock in today at 4.25% higher than what they had. They can't afford to. And to give you a perspective, because we're in the field a lot, one of my clients who gives out a lot of private money, he gave me back a couple of properties to sell by way of power of sale. And that law firm that he deals with, they said on January 1st, which is just a week away, they're issuing 25 power of sales, just one small law firm. So I'll give you a perspective. If you kind of take that across the board, what that's going to look like, this is going to be a period now where there's going to be a lot of people, unfortunately, losing their houses. They don't want to, but they have no choice. They can't afford the new realities that the government imposed upon us.
Speaking of immigration, and they're depending on immigration to come and change the things around, but the way it looks on the ground is totally different, because I know a lot of people are even repatriating, leave alone coming to the country, because the expenses are so high, the rent, the living expenses, their day-to-day living cost has gone through the roof. And now it's not worth it, they say. I mean, it's like you're living in a very rich country, a very poor life, so it's not worth it. So I know a lot of families, they're repatriating. I mean, there were things like they were happy with the education system or the medical system and what have you. And look what's happening. I mean, the medical system is almost breaking down. There is always strikes and protest against the government on the education system and the transportation, the whole lot. So, I mean, there is instability in a lot of other things as well. So how would we, I mean, I don't see a lot of people would be kind of leaving everything behind and coming to Canada when we living in Canada are suffering. So what is happening in terms of supply and demand would you expect would do? Because there's not, the way I hear, a lot of developers have stopped or kind of halted their project. Is it true? I mean, because you deal with a lot of them. And
yeah, well, I'll first say this in terms of supply and demand. I believe the reason the market was so buoyant the first quarter of this year was strictly supply and demand. It was the fact that there was limited inventory and a lot of pent-up demand, and that's what drove the market. Every time we have this phenomena, the government steps in and creates a bit of a mess, in my opinion. So in 2017, they did something similar where they brought out a 15% non-resident tax. So that kind of put dampers on. But it was, even at the height of the market in 2017, only 5% were non-residents. So it was never really the crux of the matter or the issue. It was really more supply and demand. Today, we're seeing, we'll talk about the resale market and the pre-construction market as well, too. Resale market, some people out of necessity have to now sell their houses because they're foreshadowing the future. They realize in 4 to 6 months, if they have a mortgage coming up for renewal and they're paying 2% or sub 2%, they're not going to be able to pay 6%. So they're trying to just plan ahead and maybe downsized, etc. So you're seeing a bit of that. The unfortunate part as well, which happened every time government steps in the early part of this year, the market was probably as strong as I've ever seen it in my 30 plus years of being in the industry. People, buyers and sellers, if you have to buy and sell, most people felt, listen, I better buy first. I don't know, how easy it's going to be to buy. I know I can sell my house very readily. And so they took the plunge and bought first. And if they were caught, unfortunately, in the in-between phase, all of a sudden they couldn't sell. The prices they anticipated getting, they couldn't get, so there was a lot of havoc in the marketplace. And we're still seeing the effects of that today, where people really haven't recovered from that paradigm shift because of the government, right? So I think that's been a big challenge. On the pre-construction side, definitely some builders have put the brakes on because they don't see the validity moving forward. The construction costs have gone up a lot for them. So, from a profitability perspective, it's not as flattering for them as well. But the other part as well that a lot of people don't really, appreciate or understand is that a lot of people bought pre-construction 2, 3, 4 years ago, and they're coming up for closings, but they bought them on a 1.5% rate. Now they're not going to be able to close, so they're not going to be. So these builders and developers who are banking on an X number of sales, they're going to see a lot of those sales wiped out from the sheer fact the buyers can't close the deal.
I see. Okay, so it's a kind of ripple effect. A lot of people are getting it's a hard. What the case is a rock and hard place. So, what's happening actually? What I see, I'm sure you must have heard about it. There was a protest in Brampton last week. A builder, he sold it, and now people found out he increased the prices over a period of 6 months for 600,000. For a townhouse, we sold it for 600,000, and within 6 months, the same townhouse was sold for 1 million plus. So now, when the appraisal is coming with all this new scenario, the appraisal is not coming as much. So the guy, what 100 plus people were on the street in the freezing night and protesting that they can't close it because the appraisal is not coming. So, what are these? Because they are now, when we talk to people, they're demonizing the investor. They blame them for being greedy. They blame them, well, if it was not bad, you would have made money. Now things have gone the other way around, so you have to feel. But to me, the way I look at it is, the authorities, you think they could have not stopped it when it was such a kind of reckless increase in the prices? Could the authorities, or was there no watchdog? Nobody, as if they allowed this to happen, and now they say, okay, you deal with it.
Yeah, it's a really difficult situation. And I also think, in my opinion, it's a lesson learned for people, because sometimes as an investor, when things are going really well, you want to leverage and double down and triple down and buy 5 or 10 properties. And I've always been risk averse. I mean, I saw, my family where my dad had a successful business and he ended up losing everything. So I said, if I ever get to a level or a place of success, I want to make sure that I'm not leveraged and I can sleep at nights. And I think that's really important for people to understand that today, because I have even a lot of friends who bought 5 or 10 properties thinking they're leveraging, thinking, well, the market's really buoyant and strong, and I'll see, a pretty good bump up in all those properties, and it becomes a dangerous and slippery slope when the market goes the wrong way. But, it's hard to really listen. I empathize with buyers today who, A, the appraisals aren't coming in, B, interest rates have probably been a big reason for that, because it's kind of put the brakes on the market. And there's no really easy solution today. So how do you get out of this mess? It's not like here's a magic wand and we're all going to be okay. I think we're in for the long haul. And I think because of the government actions, which unfortunately I don't agree with, they're putting us back several years, and a lot of people are going to be in dire straits, and they're going to lose their houses, and all that isn't very fun. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, if you can't pay your bills, the stress levels go through the roof, your health suffers, everything gets impacted because of that. And I think this is the period and we're going to be entering into for the next year plus.
But I don't know if is it a case of being like the big fish who were supposed to make decisions and design the plan the whole economy and the way everything but we live the life. They want us to live the life, and this is a fact. There are other people behind the scene who design the things, and they want to so we just live the way they, like I said. So is this a case like somebody has making tons of money and just walked away, and now turned their back on these people and say, okay, go to hell, deal with it. We are out.
Yeah, listen, I don't. I can just say this. I don't think the government was naive to not recognize the impact this was going to have on the average person's life. So I think taking the steps they took, and I honestly, quite frankly, I'm shocked that they're able to pull this off to affect so many people. And they you can't tell me they don't recognize this is going to affect people. I mean, I'm here. I've heard a few of the politicians talk, and I've voiced my opinion. Doug Ford has been a very strong proponent of, hey, this is crazy, this is too much. And I have a lot of respect for him for that reason, because he understands the average person is going to suffer dramatically because of this. And I've said this on a few other discussions where I was listening into CP24 a few weeks back when the last rate hike took place. And one prominent retired banker had stated that it was okay and people could weather the storm. And I just thought he's just really out of touch with reality. And his argument was, listen, the last thing you let go of is your house. You'll probably let your credit cards go first. You'll have delinquent accounts and maybe your car second, then your house. But for some reason, how he thinks it's okay that all the others get left behind, you now have bad credit, etc. That's not acceptable. That's not fiscally responsible behavior from the government. And I think, quite frankly, it's going to have repercussions that are pretty, long term.
We're going to go to a short break after a while, but before we go, I want to ask you a question. Now, I understand I made a mistake. I apologize as a small investor. I'm very sorry. So let me ask you when we come back from a short break. So if you give me 2 minutes, we'll come back. Welcome back from the break, and our discussion is still Mr. Sam McDadi, and he is very sympathetic, as you viewers can see it, towards the investor. He's very sympathetic to the market. He's feeling your pain. He's sympathizing and feeling the empathy. So at least somebody is listening to you and giving you the advice that probably nobody has given us so far. Whoever I spoke to, Sam has really turned their back on us and kind of demonized the little fellows who invested their lifetime money. Now, my question is, can we hold all them liable for this confidence they falsely placed on the market or on the policies of the government and the bank and everything, that it's going to go the way it is, nice, smooth sail, and never really expect, because we don't have the information as small investors. Small investor does not know what's going to happen 2 years, what is being discussed in the parliament or in the bank or in somebody sitting in somewhere else is who's going to decide our fate. So now is there anything at all that you see a builder, a developer, or a real estate guy, or a government, somebody somewhere comes at an angel and hold their hand and say, okay, don't worry, we are with you? Is there anything at all that can kind of lower their pain? Yeah, that's what I'm going to.
I think, firstly, from the government level, it's very difficult. I think they're very difficult to penetrate, and unless there's a change, unfortunately, in government where they have a different vision, I think this is the direction the Bank of Canada is going in. I don't think they're going to change their viewpoints, and even to the point, and I'll come back to the builders, developers, but even when we saw these monumental rate increases, they didn't even think of other ways to level the playing field. So, for example, the stress test, which was implemented a few years ago, and the premise was listen, rates are so low that at some point rates might go up. So while you might get a 5-year fixed mortgage at 2%, we're going to qualify you in +2 of that. So it'll be a 4% qualification, so that when rates do go up, you'll be able to weather the storm because we've built in a mechanism for a higher rate than you're actually receiving. Today, as rates have really went through the roof, they're still saying we're not going to take the stress test off the books. So if you're getting a mortgage today, it's, let's say, 5.5%, you're qualifying at 7.5%. So to give you a kind of what that looks like for $1 million mortgage, which today, years ago, that was a big number. Today, it's not as big of a number, although it is a big number. you need an income of approximately $250,000 to $300,000 for $1 million mortgage. Well, the average Canadian income household is about 100 to 120. So there's a huge disconnect. So incomes have kind of flatlined, maybe gone up 1 or 2%. House prices have skyrocketed, and interest rates have gone through the roof. So the formula is not really making sense for the average Canadian. And I just don't really understand how the government doesn't see it and doesn't take steps to try and level the playing field. So they're keeping the stress test, which means it's going to be very hard to buy a property even if you wanted to, because the income requirements are crazy. And number two, one of the things I suggested, at least in the short term, if you're making these crazy rate increases, maybe stretch the amortization for the buyers. At least he can have the same monthly payments until he kind of recalibrates, and maybe then he can bring back that amortization. So right now we're at 25 years. If they were to stretch it to 40, at least the buyers in the short term can say, okay, I can afford these payments, because it's about affordability today. It's about making sure you can make your ends meet, and most people today cannot.
Well, let's shift the gear. That's enough. I think I've spoken enough for the investors. So with you here, I want to take advantage of knowing and to a positive thing now. So what can you give us now? What's positive happening, or your overview of the current market? And if people ever lost something, what should be their strategy to kind of mitigate the losses or make up for what they will lose? Because they are in business. The business is always not like green, 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 or gold, gold, gold. Could be, ups and downs. So what would you suggest should be somebody's who's in the situation?
I think we can't go back. And if you're in the unfortunate position where you bought late last year, early this year, where prices were quite high, now they've come off, 10, 20, 25%. If you have the staying power to retain your asset, you haven't actualized the loss. So if you're in a position where, listen, you may have to take a second job, you have to find ways to get through this period, know that on average, prices in the GTA double every 10 years. So the next 2-3 years will be okay. Like, we'll come back to where we were and hopefully plus some. But the key part is being able to weather the storm. So don't despair. Don't think, the end, is here today. Yes, it's been a difficult period, especially if you bought this first quarter of this year and you're down 10, 20%, used all your hard-earned savings, and you've seen that eroded. But that's not actualized unless you sell. So if you have the ability to hold on, real estate is still a great investment, and it will come back. It might take time. It may not be overnight, but next few years it will come back, and you'll see yourself in the positive again, and you'll feel good about it. So just know that there's still light at the end of the tunnel. And in fact, what I told all my team members, we had a meeting a few weeks back, and I said, one of the goals should be this year for you to meet with all the clients who bought earlier this year and just let them know it's going to be okay. I mean, we bought at a time when the market was really strong. Nobody could have foreshadowed the 180 turnaround, largely government induced, but know that we're still a very strong city. We're a world-class city. We will come back, but it's going to take a little time.
Well, this is a great message. I mean, it's not all that bad. People should not get so frustrated. It's a part of the business. So every day is not what they say, every day is not Sunday. So ups and downs comes. People should hang in there, wait for the good time to come. So what would you suggest if somebody has a money now and got a liquid money and they see as a good buying opportunities? What would you recommend for them to? Is it condos? Is it like pre-construction, resale, or commercial? Because now I'm sure people listening to this, they would like to see you as well personally, probably take more advice of you directly, and they would like to know your recommendation, knowing you, from your background and everything. And I would highly recommend, go to the specialist, guys, please. So maybe whoever has got caught probably got to a quack. That quack doctor probably got you into the situation. Go to the specialist, go to the person who knows the job. So here we have one that he knows the job. I'm not promoting him. Maybe I'll visit him one day to get that promotion done. But at least it is free advice that I am getting, and you should get advantage of. So again, what would you recommend, Sam? I mean, it's commercial, pre-construction, commercial land, farm? What is there on cards? What do you think is the best bet at this moment?
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if you have the courage to go against the grain and do what others won't, you'll succeed. Sometimes it's not easy to do that. The first quarter of this year, I was recommending to a lot of my clients, listen, the great time to sell, maybe not the best time to buy because the market's really, really strong. But I would say that today, over the next, 6, 12 months, there will be buying opportunities in each asset class. So I think it really is largely dictated by the motivation of the sellers. So there's really good opportunities right now in resale where people really need to get out and they're ready to discount the price. So from a buyer perspective, you can buy a property today maybe 20-25% below what it was just 8-9 months ago. So that's a really good savings versus what you were prepared to pay earlier in the year. You don't have to jump in because I don't think the market's going to go up 30% next year. I think you can pick and choose your battles today, make good educated decisions, which wasn't the case the first part of the year. You had no time to breathe. You had to go all in, make a decision, sometimes not a great decision because you're forced to. In our world, we have a full-time inspector that works for us. So even if somebody wanted to buy a property and you couldn't have a condition, our inspector would do a 30-minute walkthrough with them. So at least their eyes were relatively open so they knew what they're walking into because we didn't want them afterwards disappointed that they made a bad decision. So, and I think with pre-construction, there's going to be opportunities. But here's the thing with pre-construction, a lot of the builders starting future valuing the prices. So they're kind of projecting where the prices should be in 3-4 years, and they're pricing at today's market, which then makes no sense for you to buy it because now it's just really advantaged builders. So you need to be very specific with the projects you look at to make sure they're a viable project and there's going to be some good runway at the end, because a lot of projects don't make sense for us. And we see pre-construction, probably 9 out of 10 will say, no, we don't like this. We don't think it's a good opportunity for our clients. We're going to pass. There is the odd one where we think, yeah, this is great. We think it's a great location. It's a great price point. There's a big runway of opportunity for price appreciation, then we'll recommend it. So I would say all asset classes have some merit potential. You have to evaluate them each on their own merit. It's not like, oh, this is going to do great, that's going to do bad. I think I would buy in any of those sectors, provided I thought it was good value today.
Yeah, because the way it looks, the government expecting like 500,000 new immigrants, and that's a lot of. And I heard they passed Bill 23 last month that is taking some land from the Green Belt and starting new construction projects in the housing and all that. So there's going to be a lot of activities. So do you think there is still like the bidding war going on? There is still like multiple offers still? It is happening or what?
Yeah, it's back to the traditional model where maybe one of every 10 houses might get 2 or 3 offers, and most of them, now when we counsel our sellers, we build a buffer for negotiating. So if we think a house is worth $100,000, we'll list it at $105,000, build a 3 to 5% buffer for negotiating. And if we do by chance get multiple offers, that's just more of a windfall, where I think earlier in the year it was just low to high, and that was just the automatic process, where today I think you don't have to worry about competing for the most part. The odd property, if it's a really well-positioned home or asset that might get second or third offers, but it's not going to get 20 or 30 or 40 like it did earlier in this year. The earlier part of the year was crazy. It was really crazy.
Well, I know a lot of people, they are interested in buying. I meet a lot of people, and but the thing is, like I said, they're looking for this time around, they're looking for specialists. So let's say, speaking of you, for example, if somebody wants to connect with you and would like to have, not necessarily buying it, but to know, learn, and then making a move, what can you offer? What would your company, your firm, have anything like that can I would see it, I would see it as a community service, departing the knowledge, educating the people so don't get their hands burned out. At least a widespread knowledge, not hooked to anything, like you must buy to learn it, or you must commit or sign to learn it. So would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, of course. Listen, one of the reasons I think we've had success in the industry, it's always been about providing the best possible customer service to our clients. And usually, and I've done this from the onset, I developed a buyer package, which before anybody buys a house, I'd like to spend 45 minutes, an hour with them, go through the whole exercise so they understand, is this the right time to buy? What are the costs I'm looking at? How can I save money? Really empower them with education so they're in a position to either decide, well, I've got the information, maybe in a year I'll be ready, maybe 2 years, maybe it's it's the right time, maybe it's not. And for us, what I really think is important from a real estate practitioner perspective is to give good counsel so that people can make good decisions. And we feel really good about that. If they never transact, that's okay too. If we empower them with information so they walked away understanding the process and knowing whether it was right or wrong for them, that's really our objective. I mean, the end result, of course, if they want to transact, we're happy to help them in that journey. But if it's just helping them get educated and empowered, that's fantastic for us.
Well, what's going to happen, I'm going to use this platform for that particular purpose. And I would request you and urge you to come to work with us that time to time, if you are, I understand you're a very busy person, if you kind of dedicate a person to us or depute somebody to work with us, and we can bring him over, no charges, like, you're doing voluntarily, we do it voluntarily. We bring that person yourself, and I'm sure they would like to hear from you time to time, even once a month, a short meeting, not as a longer discussion as probably today, because we wanted to break the ice, get to, to know you better, and for you to know us better, basically to break the ice. But then, of course, we want to take this vision to the next level, and and transfer it to our viewers. And I would request, and I hope you would give us, when we request, like even once a month or once in a while, to come up with a topic. This is not general, but we could come up with a topic or a specific project. You could give us like pros and cons of it, your opinion on it. And would you be able to do that for us, Sam?
Yeah, it'd be an honor to do that. And I just a little side note, I've written a few books about the real estate process and journey, and our newest edition's coming out next month. Hopefully next month, we're just finalizing it. So I'd be happy to share that as a gift to anybody who would like that as well. And I'd be happy on a monthly basis to, empower everybody with real estate knowledge as best I know.
So could you give me just one short break, and then I'll come back again and
absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, welcome back. Sam, I really can't thank you enough for your taking time, talking to me, talking to our people. And this is a lot of knowledge and a lot of things that we have, but more than anything else, I have taken commitment of you that you will be giving us any time that we request. You would be kind enough to do that. In fact, we'll visit your office and all that. But I'll let you go and enjoy the holidays, enjoy the Christmas and the New Year with your family and friends. And don't step out if you really don't have to. It's not a great weather. So thank you very, very much. It's a great honor and pleasure talking to you.
The honor and pleasure has been mine. Thank you for having me on the show, and I'm happy to be a regular guest and empower everybody with real estate information, as I said, and have a safe drive back home as well, too.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sam. Have a great day, and Happy New Year.
Thank you very much. Happy New Year as well.
For 2023 to you, your staff, your customers, your clients, your everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye. व्यूअर्स ये थे सैम मैकडैडी, सब लोग जानते हैं इन्हें, जीटीए की एक मारूफ शख्सियत हैं, रियल स्टेट इंडस्ट्री में जाना पहचाना नाम है। हमने आज उनको इसलिए दावत दी है कि हम फर्स्ट हैंड और एक एक्सपीरियंस बंदे से उनके इन्फॉर्मेशन जो हम सीख सकते हैं सीखें, जो आप तक इन्फॉर्मेशन पहुंचा सकते हैं वो पहुंचाएं। ये मार्केट में जो वोलेटिलिटी और ये जो एक पैनिक फैला हुआ है कि उसका कोई इलाज ढूंढें। आप इस इंटरव्यू को देखिए, इसमें जो आप सजेस्ट करें अपने कमेंट्स ज़रूर दीजिए, और मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि अगले 4-5 एपिसोड जितने भी हों ये रियल इंडस्ट्री से ही रिलेटेड हों। ये और मतलब जो जाने पहचाने नाम हैं उनको मैं दावत दूंगा, उनसे बातचीत करेंगे। लेकिन मैं वही अब सवाल करूंगा, जो क्वेश्चन पूछूंगा जो आप मुझे देंगे। मुझे लगता है कि मैंने काफ़ी जो थी इंफॉर्मेशन जो मैं ले सकता था ली है, जो नहीं ले सका वो आप मुझे रिमाइंडर भेजिएगा, मुझे लिख के भेजिएगा। हमारा लिख लीजिए, मेरा अपना जो ईमेल है वो है tariq_2000@yard.com, और या फिर आप हमें हमारे जो इदारे के जो ईमेल है वो है info@awaz.ent.gmail.com, इस पे भेज दीजिए। تو یہ بھی پھر مل جائے گا، یا پھر 905-462-1842 پہ کال کر کے مجھے بتا دیجئے، تو بھی میں آپ سے ملاقات بھی ہو جائے گی، آپ کے کویسچن بھی ہو جائیں گے. تو اگر آپ سمجھتے ہیں کہ اس سے آپ کو کچھ فائدہ ہوا ہے، اس نالج کو، اس انفارمیشن کو ہم یوز کر سکتے ہیں یا اس کو کیسے بہتر بنا سکتے ہیں، تو مجھے ضرور بتائیے گا. میں آپ کے فیڈ بیک کا منتظر رہوں گا، اور تاکہ میں اس پروگرام کو زیادہ سے زیادہ بہتر بنا سکوں. یہ میرا پہلا ایپیسوڈ ہے. میرا اس وقت فوکس ریئل اسٹیٹ ہوگا، کیونکہ یہی بز ورڈ ہے، یہی اس وقت آج کل کا ہاٹ ٹاپک ہے. ہر بندہ اسی کے اوپر سوال پوچھتا ہے. ہر ایک نے کہیں نہ کہیں انویسٹمنٹ کی ہوئی ہے، کوئی نہ کوئی لینا چاہ رہا ہے، لیکن مارکیٹ اس طرح کی ہے کہ ہر بندہ جو ہے وہ سمجھ نہیں پا رہا کہ کس طرح سے ہینڈل کرنا ہے. تو آتے مل کے اس کو سمجھنے کی کوشش کرتے ہیں، ایک جیسے ویل انفارمڈ ڈیسیژن لینے کی کوشش کریں گے. جو انفارمیشن بڑے بڑے ایکسپرٹس جو میں یہاں سے اکٹھے کر سکا، ان سے آپ کی ملاقات کراؤں گا. آپ ڈائریکٹلی ان سے پوچھئے، ان سے رابطہ کیجئے. ہم آپ کے اور ان کے درمیان ایک برج کا کام کریں گے، اور اس طرح آپ سے ملاقات بھی ہوتی رہے گی اور پروگرام بھی ہوتا رہے گا. بٹ لاسٹلی پلیز ڈرائیو کیئرفلی. اگر آپ گھر سے آپ کو کوئی اتنی ایمرجنسی نہیں ہے تو گھر سے نہ نکلے گا. آج رات کو 90 کلومیٹر پر آور جو ونڈ ہے وہ ہوگی، اور اس کے علاوہ اٹس ناٹ اے پلیزنٹ ویدر آؤٹ سائڈ. سڑکیں بہت سلپری ہیں. بہت احتیاط سے باہر جائیے اور اپنا خیال رکھیے، اپنے گھر والوں، دوستوں، سب کا خیال رکھیے. اور ہم ابھی تو پتہ تو چل گیا ہوگا، وی کیئر فار یو، وی کیئر فار ٹورانٹو، وی کیئر فار اوور کلائنٹ، وی کیئر فار اوور ویورز. تو یہی میرا سلوگن ہوگا، وی کیئر فار یو. تو آپ کے لیے ہم پروگرام لایا کریں گے. محمود طارق کو اویئرنیس سے اجازت دیجیے. تھینک یو ویری مچ. گڈ بائے.